warm welcome to all the ladies and gentlemen present in this auditorium today. I pay just welcome you on the lecture series at Techfest 2012, Day 3. It's been an entertaining and enthralling day, Day 2 and Day 1 of Techfest at IIT Bombay. And continuing in the same spirit, we have a series of lectures lined up for you today. We begin off with Mr. Dennis Charter. Ladies and gentlemen, at Techfest we've always believed, our theme has always been Dream On. We always believe that dreams are the most powerful things that possess the potential of turning to reality if you only dream hard enough. Mr. Charter today here would be talking to us on the topic, Dream the Biggest Dreams. A little bit about Mr. Charter, an entrepreneur par excellence, a pioneer and an inventor, most importantly a dreamer who has made his dreams come true. Mr. Charter has been pioneering innovation since its very early days. From those early days of pioneering the music industry in Australia in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, then in later years creating innovative television programming ideas and content, to finally innovating some of the biggest transformations in the way the entertainment industry and the financial industry operate in the 21st century. Mr. Charter has done it all. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please have a loud round of applause? There was this idea that was sown in the foundations of the internet, which is called e-commerce. It started off with something called as a secure electronic payment system, the idea of which and the first prototype of which was sown by Mr. Charter here. He's the one who's responsible for the great levels to which e-commerce has reached today. We all see eBay, we all see Amazon working online, we have PayPal as online payment gateways. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charter here has been instrumental in sowing the foundation of all e-commerce. So we have with us a very, very knowledgeable person. It's a pleasure to be here, sir, with you, sharing the same dais. And organizers to kindly present sir with a bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of sir's talk can be gauged by the fact that today all electronic payments over the internet are carried out using the secure electronic payment system. With this, I welcome Mr. Dennis Charter again on behalf of Techfest and IIT Bombay. So it'd be a pleasure to listen to you.
Cool to see so many people here this morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to, first of all, get everybody to just have a look at this slide. I don't know whether you can read the writing there properly or not, but if you just view this slide, it shows you the sorts of things that are happening in the world every 60 seconds. And the point of this slide and the next slide that I'll show you is to reinforce the fact that not very long ago, none of these things were at all possible. And these things came about because of somebody's dream. I can leave copies of these photos here for everybody to take away, to have a look at through the festival organisers. They're fascinating slides. And like I said at the beginning, these are things that could never ever have been imagined just a few years ago. I came to India, where I accepted the invitation to speak here, really because I wanted to impart one simple thing, and that was to inspire everybody. I want to inspire everybody to be adventurous, to be bold, to be brave, to be creative and innovative, and most importantly of all, to follow your hearts. My life has been a wonderful adventure, and I want to impart and inspire everybody here today by some of the things that I've experienced and lived through that have created some of these things that you've seen on these slides. And it's not really about what you see here, it's about the innovation and everything that you see all around you every day. when I was walking through to here this morning, I walked past the Robo Wars, which entertained me. And I just love technology. I love the innovation, the new adventure of seeing people create things. And it's all around us in everything that we do. I have two basic mottos for my life. The first is to dream the biggest dreams. I don't think there is anything at all that should limit our thinking, that should limit our inspiration. And my belief is you can achieve, you can do anything in life that you set your mind to, anything in life that you believe. And that's the key. You only have to believe in yourself. You live in a country here with a 6,000-year history of spirituality and believing. And there's probably no other country on the planet that has that history of believing, of belief, of spirituality, of understanding the inner side of ourselves. And that spirituality is really summed up in a simple word called belief. Countries like America have a 200-year history. It's astounding when you compare the two countries and you look at the innovation and you look at the progress of the countries and you wonder why that there is such a disparity. And the disparity is really because the Americans believe in themselves. They teach it in children at school. You talk to a little school child and they are confident, they will express themselves in a way that astounds you when you listen to them. Because they're taught to believe in themselves, they're taught to express themselves and to go out and tackle the world. They're taught that nothing at all is impossible. I left home when I was 13 years old. Today I'm 59 years old. And until all that time between those years, it's 46 years, I've only ever worked for somebody for 7 months in my entire life. And that was a job putting labels on wine bottles. And I told myself when I was 13 that if I wanted to achieve something in life, that if I wanted to do something in life, I had to make sacrifices. I had to go out and achieve things on my own and do things on my own. By the time I was 15, I managed the #1 band in Australia, the #1 music band in Australia. And by the time I was 16, I had the biggest nightclub in Australia. I wasn't even old enough to be inside, you had to be 18 to legally go into a nightclub, but I was 16 and I owned a club. We had 3,000 people coming into that club every Saturday night. And when I was 17, although I was earning more money than both my parents put together, I was earning more money in a month than they were both earning in a year. My mother still said to me, my mother sat me down one day and said to me, "When are you going to get a real job? When are you going to do something with your life?" The other thing she said to me was that she reminded me that I wasn't the centre of the universe, that the universe didn't revolve around me. I don't know whether you've heard that expression before, but it's a fairly common thing that people say to you, you're not the centre of the world, you're not the centre of the universe. But I think we are. I think we all are. And I think I can prove it to everybody here today with a very simple exercise. If everybody will bear with me for a moment and do this with me, I can prove it to you. I want everybody to close their eyes just for a moment. And I would like everybody to think about the person that's the most important person in your life. So think about the person that you're closest to, the person that means the most to you at all. And I want you to picture that person smiling at you, loving you, caring about you. Now, I would like to ask the simple question, is there anybody in this room that knows what that person is thinking right now? I don't think anybody can. Can you tell me what that person's looking at right now? I don't think anybody can tell me that either. Can you tell me what they're smelling right now? You can't tell me that either. You can't tell me what they're saying. You can't tell me what they're listening to. You can't even tell me what they're doing right now unless they're in this room with you. But you can tell me what you're thinking right now. You can tell me what you're smelling right now. You can tell me what you're doing right now. If you haven't already done so, you can open your eyes. You can tell me what you're looking at right this very moment. So, my point is, where's the center of the universe when you close your eyes? It's right inside yourself. You're right at the heart of that universe. Everything revolves around you. The whole world revolves around you because you're the center. You're the part that sees everything around you. I said to you that my first motto in life was to dream the biggest dream. And there's a quote that I'd like to, there's two quotes that I've always been reminded of. The first is that there's an expression, shoot for the stars. I don't know whether you've heard that or not. But the quote that I like is, shoot for the moon. Because even if you miss, you'll end up in the stars. Meaning, shoot for the biggest ideals that you have. Shoot for the highest things that you can dream of. Dream the biggest dreams. Because even if you miss, you're going to end up way up there where you never thought you could be. And there's another quote that I guess exemplifies my belief system. And that is simply that if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you absolutely can't, and you never will. And it's really that simple. Life's really that simple. If you believe in something, you can do it. If you don't believe, you never ever will. No matter how hard you try, no matter what's around you, no matter what you get in life, you never will achieve it because you don't believe it's real. So if you don't believe, how do you expect anybody else to believe in you? You're the only thing that stands between you and the fulfillment of your dreams. You're the only roadblock. You're the only thing separating you from your success. There's nothing else. Everything else is possible. Because you're the center of the universe. You can make everything happen. You co-create your own future because you believe in something. Because you think something can be possible. All those things that you saw before on the first two slides, who 20 years ago would have ever thought any of those things were possible? There's not a person in the world that would have dreamt that big. But all those things are real now because somebody had a dream about something and they made it real. Here in India, you live in a land of opportunity. You may not think that or see that every day in your everyday lives, but when I arrive here and I see all the people here, I see the size of the population, I see the growth, I see all the construction around me, from the airport to the university. I just see opportunity. Opportunities everywhere. The people outside today building those robo-wars, robots, they're grasping the opportunity. They're using their creativity to hold on to something that they believe in. They believe that they can create the future. And those first two slides show you what the future can be in just a short period of time of 10, 15 years. The world changed. In 1991, there was a word called multimedia that was coined. And my first understanding of that was a revelation of what the world was going to be, reflected in those two slides. And by that, I had an understanding of what my past was and what the opportunities were in the future. I'd been in the music business. I'd produced videos and music videos. I produced the first ever music video in Australia. I produced television programs, movies, wrote, directed, produced everything. And I'd been with computers all my life. I had my first computer in 1983. I had my first internet account, my first email account in 1987. So there was a sort of merging of this word called multimedia into my life, and it was just a recognition of an opportunity that was there. And everything around you today is the same. You can see the opportunity all around you if you only open your eyes and have a look. As I said before, if you can imagine something, you can make it real. And the other examples of that are simple things that we take for granted every day, like air travel, telephone, motor cars, satellite navigation, travelling to the moon. Everything around us was a figment of somebody's imagination, and we take them for granted today. So everything that you can think of, everything that you can dream, can be possible tomorrow. And for every one of those dreams, there were setbacks and disbelief. And I had many during my life, many disbelievers. I started with a band called Air Supply. And Air Supply, we couldn't even get airplay on Australian radio with Air Supply. Nobody believed in this new type of music, this sort of love music it was called. And we went to America and did a tour with Rod Stewart and had a #1 hit record across America. And suddenly Australia embraced us and said, wow, this music is all new and wonderful. And I guess one of my biggest frustrations with Australia was that when the internet came along, I was asked to be an advisor to the Australian government for an organisation called the Audiovisual Task Force. And the Audiovisual Task Force was set up to advise the Australian government on the future of technology. And my advice to the Australian government in 1993 was to embrace the internet. And I've got a framed letter, which unfortunately I didn't bring with me, but I've got a framed letter from the Australian government saying to me in 1993, the Australian government doesn't want to be involved in a passing fad called the internet. They called it a fad. And those first 2 slides today show you the whole world's changed because of that fad. The point of those 2 examples is to try and explain to you that there are lots of setbacks in life. There are lots of people who won't believe. But if you don't believe, you can't make it possible. You don't believe, you can't get past those barriers. You don't believe, you can't influence the people around you. If you don't believe, you can't change your life. If you don't believe, you can't change the world. It all starts with you. I've got no medical background whatsoever. I was sitting with 2 friends, a doctor and a lawyer one day in 2003. And after lunch, the lawyer said he asked one of us to drive him back to his office because he'd had too much to drink on Friday lunch. And I came up with the idea of, wouldn't it be great if you could have a breath test for cancer? Because during the lunch conversation, one of my friends had described how his mother was dying of cancer. That simple idea, with no medical background at all, 8 years later, has come up with this device. And what this device does is simply takes a sample of saliva from under your tongue, and within about 5 to 10 minutes, it'll tell you whether you've got cancer or not. Now that's a revolution that's going to change the world. But I don't have any medical background. I just had an idea. I had an idea of how a simple concept could change the world of cancer diagnostics. And no one believed me. It's taken 8 years and all of my money to produce this. And I'm doing tests with the Malaysian government. We just did a 150 people trial in Malaysia in November. Done trials at Guangzhou University Cancer Hospital in October. We've done 30 people and we're doing 500 people this year. But this was an idea that no one believed was possible. And there it is. And it's going to change the world of cancer. Everybody laughed at me. Everybody questions me today. What do you know about medicine? What do you know about cancer? My answer is nothing. Nothing at all. But I read, I listen and I learn quickly. And I believe in my ideas. What made this possible was a meeting of a doctor who, at the time, I met because through a relationship with a family friend, I was asked to look at his business because his business was in trouble. He was an amazing man, an amazing scientist, 70 years old, brilliant geneticist. He's known as the father of DNA. He came up with an idea in 1983 that God can't be wrong in the creation of our DNA. His idea that the current thinking of science in those days was that 97% of our DNA was what they called junk. And his idea was simple. He said, it can't be junk because God couldn't get it wrong 97%. If God got it wrong, we wouldn't be here. So that simple idea made him start to research. And he came up with the concept and then proved the fact that the area in our DNA called junk isn't junk at all. It's needed for coding genes, for coding proteins, etc., 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 all the things we know today. In 1987, he filed a patent. Today, he owns 97% of of the DNA of all living organisms from a simple idea. There are no accidents in life, in the people you meet. There's no accidents at all. And there's no accident that you're here today listening to me. Everybody's reason for being here might be different. Everybody's understanding and what you take away from this lecture today might be different. But I hope everybody gets the same message, understands the same message. If you believe you can, you can. It's that simple. If you believe you can, you can. Einstein had a wonderful quote about Gandhi. And he said that generations to come will scarcely believe that such a person as this ever walked the earth in flesh and blood. Gandhi impressed what we regard as the most famous intellectual mind on the planet, Einstein. And he impressed him because Gandhi had a belief, Gandhi had a dream, and he made that dream real. Gandhi's single-minded belief in his dream changed the world forever. It changed the world forever. 63 years later, we're still influenced by his thinking. We're still influenced by the way he went about things. We're still influenced by his dream. He's not an exception, because each one of you is the center of the universe. Go back to, oops, sorry. What have I done? Just leave it, it's okay. And how that's related to your dreams. If you follow your dreams, the money will follow you. If you follow your heart, the money will follow as well. It's all interconnected. The universe doesn't allow this creativity to go unrewarded. By the time I was 19, the Beatles had an impact on the world, I think, to introduce India's meditation to the world. And I was one of those people that it impacted upon. So at 19, I decided to give up everything that I'd created already in my 6 years. I left the music industry, gave away all of my money. I had another experience with my mother, who, when I was 17, I wanted to buy a property, and I had 80% deposit in cash. And I asked my mother to be a co-signatory to guarantee me because I was underage. My mother said no, because she said she wanted to teach me a lesson in life, that things aren't easy to come by. When I was 19, that stuck in my mind, so I gave away everything I had. I literally gave everything away. Gave away my cars, sold my apartment, gave that away, gave everything away. And I went and sat on a mountain for 14 months and meditated. And the reason I did that was because I wanted God to speak to me. I wanted to know what my destiny was. I wanted the heavens to, literally the heavens to part, and the word of God to say, Dennis, this is what you have to do with your life. I only kept enough money. I had a set idea in my mind that I would do this for 14 months. I kept enough money just to stay alive for that 14 months. And at about month 9 or 10, I ran out of money. I literally had no money. And during that time, I went through long periods of fasting and things like that, all the things you do when you're on a journey. But one morning during meditation, I had a very strong voice come to me that said, go and buy a lottery ticket. And I don't know whether you know what the lottery, do you have a lottery here? Yes. Well, in Australia in those days, all the lottery tickets came in little books, so you had to buy one ticket at a time. And the voice that came to me was very clear. It said, you have to buy a lottery ticket, but you have to buy the second last ticket in the book. Now I thought, where am I going to buy a lottery ticket, and how am I going to follow those instructions? So I got a friend to drive me around Melbourne, and my idea of finding the right place was to look for a free parking spot in front of a lottery shop. I eventually found one. I walked inside. It took me 15-20 minutes to talk the man into giving me the second last ticket, because he said that it's impossible, you can't take them out of order. I could have taken a really easy path and thought, okay, I'll just take any ticket. But I didn't. I believed that I had to follow those instructions. I believed that if I followed those instructions, everything would be okay. That was on a Tuesday. On the Saturday morning, I rang up to find out what the results were of the lottery. But I actually didn't ring up to find out whether I won anything. I can tell you all, holding my heart, I rang up to find out how much money I'd won, because I believed I was going to win. I followed the instructions. I followed my belief. I won second prize. I won 330,000 Australian dollars. But I gave it all away. I kept only the money I needed to get me through to the end of that 14 months. That's how much I believed in what I was doing. Many other things happened during that time as well. But that's just one story about money that I wanted to convey to you. When you believe in something, everything will come to you. When you believe in something, everything will follow you. It has to. It's the law of nature. Because you believe. You're the center of the universe. You believe. You think it's going to be real. You don't doubt anything at all. I had a second experience when I was 33. And I got out of the music industry because I had a very bad experience with two people that I'd managed for a long time. I made them very famous, made them a lot of money, and we had a fight over percentages of how much I should be getting. So I said to them, okay, forget it. You go and find somebody else to manage. And what really set me to get out of the industry was I was doing a concert tour of Elton John, of Japan, New Zealand and Australia. And Elton John had had a big fight with his boyfriend backstage just before the concert, decided to go back to the hotel room. I had to chase him back to the hotel room, talk him into coming back, getting on stage and performing. And that to me was a frustration that I couldn't bear anymore, because the egos were getting to me, everybody's attitudes were getting to me. And the next morning, when I saw Elton, he gave me a gold Rolex watch. And I had two people standing beside me, and when he gave it to me, I immediately gave it to somebody else. And he was shocked, and he said, why are you doing this? And I said, your rudeness can't buy my loyalty to you. And I said to him, I'd never want to work with you again. I said it to his face, I never want to work with you again. And I never have since that day. And I got out of the music business. I had lots of racehorses and things at the time, so I went and applied for a racehorse trainer's license, and I did that for a couple of years. And at the end of that time, I felt very, very lost. So I decided again to go back onto the mountain and meditate. And I walked into a bookshop in Melbourne, Theosophical Bookshop, which is a spiritual bookshop. And I walked along looking at the books, and one book jumped out at me, and I picked it up, opened up the page, and it said, this is the first day of the rest of your life. I closed the book, and as I closed the book, I saw the title of the book, and the title was, God Spoke to Me. So I put the book back, walked outside the shop, walked up the street. There's two churches on either side of the big main road in Melbourne, at the next intersection. I didn't know which one to go into. I walked into one of them. And as I walked in and walked down the aisle, the minister was up on the pulpit preaching to everybody, and he said, lighten the load, the journey has just begun. So I didn't even sit down. I turned around and walked out. I thought, okay, I've got the message. So I went back home. That was on a Sunday. By Thursday, I'd given away everything again. I had 7 racehorses. One I'd paid $160,000 for, gave everything away. Gave my apartment away, my stables away, I kept my car, I bought a tent, and I went and lived on top of a mountain. At the end of 4 months, after 4 months of meditation, I had a message that came to me that simply said, you are the center of the universe. Everything that you believe in, it can be real. I had a phone call from a friend of mine, probably within 2 or 3 days of that message. And my friend asked me to help him produce a television program. So I was living on top of a mountain in a tent. I was driving down into Melbourne, and I was writing, producing and directing a television program with 40 people working for me. And every night I would drive back up onto that mountain and live in a tent. And no one knew the life I was living to produce that TV program. No one knew what I was going through to produce that TV program. But everything then followed, everything then snowballed after that into a new direction and a new life. And it's all about just focusing yourself, coming into yourself and focusing yourself, and then believing what you can do, and everything will happen. Everything will follow you. The money will follow you. Everything you want will follow you. It has to. Why I'm telling you those stories is because you can't be attached to worldly things. You can't be attached to, you can't chase something because you want something else. My daughter told me one day that she wanted to be an actress, and I said, why? And she said, because I want to be famous. I said, why? And she said, just because I want to be famous, I want to be rich, I want to have money, I want people to love me. I looked at her and I said, do you love yourself? Do you believe in yourself? What do you really want to do with your life? Do you really want to be an actress just because you want to be famous? If you don't believe in something that's deep within yourself, all of those things can't ever be real because you're chasing something for the wrong reason. When I did the invention I showed you before, I wasn't doing that for the money. I wasn't chasing anything for the money. I wanted to create something that was going to do something to change the world, to make cancer sufferers' lives better for them. I just believed in something. I didn't care about what the reward was going to be. I didn't focus on the end result. I focused on creating something. And if you do that, everything will come to you. If you do something for the wrong reason, you're already moving away from the energy coming back to you because your focus is wrong. But all of these things, nothing comes without sacrifice, and you don't get something without giving something. It's like what I talked about before. Are you prepared to sacrifice something? Are you prepared to go without food? Are you prepared to do something because you believe in it? Are you prepared to follow your dream completely? If you're not, it's not going to come back to you. Again, Gandhi, believe, 100% believe in your dream. I had an experience with Madonna once, working with Madonna and watching her work ethic, watching her belief in herself. I knew her from the 1970s in Australia. And she's always worked hard like nobody I've ever seen. If she does a concert tour, she'll rehearse 6 or 7 hours a day. You see normal bands and normal performers come in and do a sound check in the afternoon and they run through 1.5 songs. Madonna will go through the show twice. She'll make everybody run through the show twice. She works and works and works because she believes in her success. She believes in what she can do. And she made it real. Luck is something you create. Luck is something that comes to you because you believe. The other thing I wanted to talk about is what I call the importance of living. And there's a Chinese writer called Lin Yutang who I read when I was about 16 or 17 or 18. And his message was simple. It was to take the time to live your life. Take the time to waste some time. Take the time to dream. Take the time to think about what you want. Take the time to ponder your existence. Take the time to find your happiness. Because your dream is your happiness. When you pursue something that you really believe in, it's your happiness, it's your heart talking. And don't ever be in a rush, don't ever be in a hurry to decide what you want to do when you grow up. I'm 59 and I still haven't decided what I want to be when I grow up. But what I've known from when I was very young is I wanted to be happy. And again, when I was at that age, 16 or 17, there was a comic strip character called Charlie Brown. Does anybody know Charlie Brown? Yeah. Charlie Brown was just a famous, came out of America, comic strip that was in the newspapers every day. When I was a young boy, I saw this cartoon strip one day. It's Charlie Brown and his little friend sitting in a playground next to each other and talking. And his friend said to him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Charlie thought about it for a little while and he turned to his friend and he said, "Happy." And I think that's the key for all of us. We just want to be happy. And if you're pursuing your heart, if you're following your dream, you're going to be happy. You're really going to be happy. You only have one life. This is your life. right here, right now, today is your life. You have to pursue your happiness. No one's ever going to die for you, and no one can live for you. Your parents can't live for you. Parents aren't going to die for you. You have to pursue your own dreams and your own happiness. It's your life. There's an American philosopher by the name of Joseph Campbell. Has anybody heard of Joseph Campbell? Joseph came to the world's attention, I guess, through George Lucas. George Lucas used Joseph to advise him on the story of Star Wars. Joseph's background was to do with myths and legends. And so Lucas used him to advise on the story of Star Wars. And Joseph Campbell has a quote that I'd like to read to you. He says, "You are unique. No one in the world was ever you before. And no one in the world will ever be you again. You are unique." If you walk somebody else's path, if you follow somebody else, you're never going to fulfill your own unique potential. You have to follow your own dreams. You must live your life. Live your life. I said I had two mottos in life. My second motto is about the importance of dying. And what I mean by that is that I've always had the idea that if death comes along one day and taps me on the shoulder and says to me, "Dennis, it's your turn to die," I have to be able to turn around to him or her. Feminism has a concept about God being a female. So if God can be a female, I guess death can be a female too, right? So my idea is I have to be able to turn around and say, "Thank you. I've had a great adventure." Because if you can do that, I think, then you really have had a great adventure. You've fulfilled your life. You've done everything that you've thought possible. You've pursued your dreams. There are two types of people in the world, I think. There are people who live their lives, and there are people who, what I call, wait to die. They're waiting to die. And by that I simply mean that often people put off doing things that they want to do. They postpone their lives. They think, "I'll do this when I retire, when this happens, when I get the money." Lots of reasons we create to postpone our lives. So I call that waiting to die. Because when you retire, when you get the money, when you have all of these things, you'll usually do something else. When you retire, you might go on that quick holiday with your wife or your husband. And then you come back and you'll do what? You'll wait to die. Living starts today. Doing something with your life starts today. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the importance of people. I mentioned before about Professor Malcolm Simons, who I met, and gave you the example of his life. But without the people around us, I said there's no accidents in life without the people you meet. And there's absolutely none in anybody that comes into your life, whether for a short period of time, whether for a long period of time. I'm not just talking about relationships and love, I'm talking about anything and anybody that comes into your life, like all of you being here today. But love is a very complicated thing too. But it should be very simple. I managed a band once that we were on a 10-week tour, and one night I had about 2 o'clock in the morning I had a phone call to my room from the lead singer in the band, and he asked me to come to his room urgently. When I arrived in his room and opened the door, There was a naked girl in his bed. And he was standing at the door, said to me, "Can you get rid of this girl for me?" My first reaction was, "Are you crazy?" Later I asked him why he wanted to do that. Because I couldn't understand. As a young boy, I couldn't understand. I would have said, okay. He said to me, "You can't have two rules in life. You can't have one rule for yourself and another rule for another person." He was married, and he said to me, he had to ask himself, how would he react if his wife slept with another boy? How would he feel? So how can he have two rules for his life? And he said to me, there are 5 things that are important in life: loyalty, trust, honesty, integrity, and respect. And I think those values, if we can carry those values through every part of our life, they permeate everything in our lives, our love life, our personal lives, our business life, everything. Because your values, whatever values you have, will follow you for the rest of your life. They'll change sometimes as you change, but at the end of the day, going back to the Star Wars story, everything has a basis of goodness. You often hear couples say to themselves, say to each other, I'll stick with you through all the bad times. We'll be together regardless. But in my experience of life, it's not the bad times that are really hard to deal with in terms of relationships. It's the good times. And by that I simply mean that when everything's great, when everything's going well, when you've got all the money and all the success, that's when all the temptation comes. That's when you change your values. That's the hardest part, is when everything's really good, especially for a man. You often hear the expression, money changed him. And it's true. Because money and success does change people. It changes our values. It's very hard to maintain your values and your integrity during the good times. You never, ever hear somebody fall to their knees and say, God, why did you do this to me? Why did you make me so successful and famous? Life's not like that. People aren't like that. We don't remember the things that are important when we have success and money and all the things all the trappings of those things around us. People only turn inside, people only turn to God when things are bad. We only look at our values when things are bad. We only question everything when things are bad. But we have to maintain all of those things through every part of our life, for all the good things to come to you as well. In 1996, I had my face on a billboard in Times Square. Now, if I don't tell you that now, you would never know. So I always think of those sort of things as being a memory for one. If you don't value the people around you, if you don't worship your own value system, if you don't create an environment where you treasure the people around you, you'll end up one day looking back at your life and it'll be a memory for one. because there won't be anybody standing beside you, because you will have changed. You will have lost your values. There's an old saying that I like. That saying is, a rich man still dies. My interpretation of that has always been that without people in your life, no matter how rich you are, it's the people in your life that will make you smile, that will make you feel happy when you're lying on your deathbed. You won't be sitting there counting your money. You won't be thinking, great, how wonderful how rich I am. That won't make you smile when you're dying. It'll be the memory of people in your life. So it's important to maintain the right ideas of what's truly valuable and truly important, what's worth treasuring. I think to die lonely would probably be the most cruel death. To die that no one really cared about you or loved you would be the saddest life to face at death's door, no matter how rich you are. There's an old saying from a lady called Coco Chanel. I saw an interview of her one day on television, and she was asked by the interviewer, did she have any regrets in life? Was there anything that she regretted most of all? She had a really simple, but I think a fantastic answer. Her answer was, I wish I had made more mistakes. To me, that resonated inside me, because without our mistakes, we don't learn, we don't become better people, we don't understand life, we don't understand people. She said there's two things in life that you should never apologise for: your choices and your decisions. And I think they're profound words too. It doesn't matter what we do in life, how big or how small our innovations, our ideas are. Every single contribution, every single thought we have, everything we challenge ourselves to do can change the world forever. But more importantly, more especially, it will change your world. And you can start changing your world today by doing one simple thing, and that's believe in yourself. Believe in your ideas. Dream the biggest dreams. Pursue your life. Live your life. Just remember you are the centre of the universe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. We would now like to present Sir with a memento from IIT Bombay side. May I please have an organizer to come and give the memento? Thank you, everybody.